Ryan Ham here, and what you see in front of you is an Intratec TEC-22. It is classified as a pistol, and it is interesting. Not your best quality or best manufacturing processes, best material selection, useful, or any of that, but it is interesting. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to do a quick review. I'm going to try and limit this somewhat. I know I can be kind of long-winded, and some of you enjoy that, so feel free to turn off the video anytime you want, as long as you go to one of my other long-winded videos and turn one of those off. So it's fairly large. You know, it's a good size. It's not really concealable. It is a pistol. It's designed to be fired with one hand, and that's Intratec, I-N-T-R-A-T-E-C, TEC-22 with a hyphen. 22 long rifle, and the most interesting thing about this, I guess you could say, is that it uses the Ruger 10-22 magazine, and because it does, it has a certain level of functionality that other firearms don't. And frankly, it's pretty interesting for that reason alone, and probably for only that reason. It looks kind of like the Intratec TEC-9, built kind of the same way. Amazingly enough, they had a 22 version of the TEC-9, and that was the predecessor to this. I guess they figured they could do it cheaper, so they decided they would. And I've never seen one of those in person. I just assume that it's probably the same level of quality. Now I will say I went and took this out shooting. I was shooting with my daughter, and not really filming, so I don't have any footage of that, and I will not take it out shooting again. I bought this with the intent to sell it. Don't have a use for it, although I tried to find a use, and I'll go into that in a minute. So here's the magazine that came with it. It is a Ramline magazine. I believe this one holds 30 rounds. I haven't tried this magazine. I've got a couple others like it. They tend to be kind of iffy on the reliability, and I didn't doubt that it was going to be the same way, so I didn't even try it at this range session. I've got a whole box full of old 10-22 high caps. So the Ramlines tend to be iffy, and they wear out pretty quick. So enough about the magazine. Well, we'll put it in the gun so you can see how it looks. It looks like one of those evil assault pistols that you hear about. I've never heard of a technical term of assault pistol, but the politicians sure like to use it because it sounds like the gun itself is bad, when in reality it's no different than any other pistol, and in fact it's probably less reliable and less likely to cause injury to its intended target than most other pistols. So interesting features. One of the most interesting features is that it is super simple to disassemble. See that button there? That's actually the end of the spring assembly on the inside. And you just push that in and lift up on the top cover. And that is almost it. You pull back a little bit on the bolt and lift up, and there you go. I could show that again, but that was, pretty simple and pretty straightforward. No tools required. A lot easier than certainly the Ruger 10-22 or most other firearms out there. I would argue that that is the single best feature of this gun, is that it breaks down real easy. Unfortunately, you need to break it down sometimes to fix malfunctions. Now, I had good luck with this only with round nose lead bullets that I had out there. I can't recall the exact brand. I had a whole bunch of older stuff that I was trying to see if I can get it to work. It did not like truncated cone bullets like hollow points. I fed it stingers, didn't like those. The hollow point stingers, didn't like those. I fed it target velocity, and it seemed to like the round nose ones. There were still a few malfunctions, and I think some of those may have been magazine related. So you see it's got a firing pin along here. This screw here holds the charging assembly, which you have to grab from both sides and pull back in order to charge the gun. The spring assembly is held on with a little C-clip there. You can see it. And you would take that C-clip off to disassemble further, but there's no real need to. You just clean that up, and it's pretty much good to go. It's got a slot for the ejector here. This is where the spring comes through, of course. There's an extractor here. The angle on the extractor is kind of weird. It kind of angles downward when the ejection port is straight out the side. I don't know if that causes any issues or exactly why they did that. This design has been out of production for a little while, so I do not know. Now, on to the interesting stuff. You've got the action of the pistol itself. There is a steel hammer, a steel disconnector, and then you've got a steel trigger. There's a steel pin there, a steel pin there. The top cover is steel. It's held on with two Allen keyed screws that screw into each other and kind of act as a cross pin. The barrel is pressed in. This one happens to be threaded. Go into that in a minute. Surprisingly good sights, actually. The notch on the rear and the pin on the front, you just line those up. These wings on the front sight kind of angle away a little bit, and you don't tend to confuse those because they're well off to the side when you're looking through the sight for the sight picture. And you'll know if you're sighting in on a wing accidentally or something of that sort. So surprisingly good, sturdy sturdy steel, parkerized, decent. The muzzle is threaded for 1/2 by 20 threads, which is not good. 1/2 by 20 is not a standard that most of the common 22s are on the market are using. It's you can see the length of the threads there. I contacted Silencer Co. and they said that I should use their adapter. So I got one, hoping to shoot this with a suppressor that I've got in waiting on my paperwork. And they sent me this awesome 1/2 by 20 to 1/2 by 28 thread adapter that's threaded for their O-ring engagement. Neat stuff. And so I pick up the gun. I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to be shooting my TEC-22 suppressed. I might even turn the thing sideways. Wait a second. And that's what I ran into. No, I would never turn the gun sideways. I'm not that way. It doesn't thread down all the way. Now I came to the conclusion that the reason it doesn't thread down all the way is because these threads here, I'd have to trim it down to about here in order to get it down inside there. I'm sorry, that's the other adapter. To get it down inside to where it would actually work well. Yeah, I'm not sure how much you're going to see down there. Let me try one other thing. Let's see, I've never done this before, so it might work. Okay. So, if you could see down there, great. If not, yeah, it didn't work. I could get a spacer, I guess, but the whole idea of having the adapter was not to have a spacer. I could trim down the threads on the gun, but honestly, this has a little bit of collector's value. You can usually get into them for $350, $400. I intend to sell this, so that's why I'm doing a video on it before I sell it. I also got the Huntertown Arms version of the 1/2 20 to 1/2 28 adapter. Pretty well made. That is right at 400 thousandths, if my camera would focus. And it would, if it liked me. Okay, focus. Focus. There you go. Okay, so right at 400 thousandths long on the threads, which is standard for 22 rimfire suppressors. But I actually got the 100-town arms first. That's why I ended up getting the Silencer Co. version. That's as far as it'll thread on. So neither of those worked. If you intend to shoot this with anything it's threaded to the muzzle, good luck. It's not going to work too well. I guess you can get some 1/2x20 muzzle devices like brakes and stuff like that, but you're really throwing good money after bad, because ultimately this is more of a novelty and a collector's piece than it is a practical firearm. Let me put it back together now. Get my threaded adapters out of the way. Okay, so getting it back together. Since there's nothing to hold the top cover down, that's the purpose of this little boss on the back of the I don't know, that would the firing pin retaining block or whatever, or recoil spring retaining block, I don't know, whatever. First of all, you want to line this up. You don't want it like that, because obviously there's something that's not going to go in there. You want it like that. You lift the top cover up, and if you could see here on the top cover, there's an opening that this goes through, and that secures the top cover and keeps it from coming off. I'm sorry. While I've got that off, let me go into some of my criticisms of this. This part right here is the ejector that rides in the groove that I showed you earlier, right along here, and it is an integral part of the frame of the gun, and it is plastic. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that is probably not a good idea, and that would wear out pretty quickly. But it hasn't worn out yet, so they might be onto something. Maybe it's made of some super unobtainium type stuff. But the magazine catch is also made out of plastic, and you know, between those two, you know, there's got to be some issues of breakage, and they don't make these parts anymore. Good luck finding parts for it. There might be some out there, and I'm sure somebody might say something in the comments. Another issue I have is that the magazine, if you can see it well there, the magazine sits really far forward in the mag well, but if you don't get it right, it can rock back, and that's just moving it. You know, I'm not touching the magazine release, obviously, and it could go out of position, and it might cause some failures. I think most of my failures were just poor design of the feeding system on the gun. And you can see the breech, the back of the barrel there. See how the front side is held on there. That's actually kind of nifty. It's got a semicircular groove in there, and you can loosen the screw and you can adjust the sight. You can loosen the screw from the inside and you can adjust the sight. Back here, it's also held on. The kind of neat, the top cover has the retaining mechanism for the top cover is actually made out of a piece of the top cover that's kind of folded down, and then the sight covers up that area. I believe, I don't know how the rear side is held on there. Yeah, kind of neat. Really interesting. Cheap. I say cheap, inexpensive. If they designed the gun right and put just a few other metal parts in there, they probably would have had a more reliable design. I really love the design. I mean, I think it could work if it were executed properly. It was more of an execution thing. So to put it back together, you put the rear part in the back there, pull back on the bolt there a little bit, and just drop it in. Drop the top cover on, and it snaps into place. Focus. Like that. Very secure. In fact, no wobble at all. The top cover seems very secure. You have to grab on both sides in order to cycle it. You can hear it's actually pretty smooth. feels good in the hand. It looks kind of cheesy, but you know, the cheese grater kind of, I don't know. That's to save plastic. It's not really saving a whole lot of weight. They just don't want to have to use a whole lot of plastic in it, I guess. Points kind of well. I mean, if it were reliable, I would love having this thing. I don't want to just be limited to shooting round nose, and those aren't super reliable as it is. Safety on this is a plastic piece, and you hear that? That was the hammer firing. It's not going to hurt it. It's built like a tank, and I didn't notice any peening on the rear of the barrel, so I'm okay dry firing it and listen for the reset. Very positive reset, and see, the trigger didn't go very far at all. The trigger is surprising in that it's very crisp. A little bit of grittiness, but the Leadoff is crisp. Very little over travel, very little creep. I mean, it's decent. You can't put the safety on unless the hammer is back. Put the safety on, and it blocks the trigger. It does. I haven't taken the mechanism apart in years. I've owned a few of these over the years. Haven't taken the mechanism apart in years, so I don't really know for sure, but it seems to block the trigger. One other feature, kind of cheesy, is they've got this little storage area back here, I guess, for storing your ninja throwing stars or whatever it is that people that own this kind of gun would like. If you've got an Intratec TEC-22, those are actually really reliable compared to this. Haven't had very much luck. I like the design of the gun. I don't like the gun overall. If they'd make it again and they'd actually focus on reliability and maybe put a few extra metal parts in, particularly the magazine release catch, and I called it two things: magazine release / magazine catch, and the ejector. If they made those two things out of steel or even aluminum, I'd be happy. But they didn't, and it's not reliable. And somebody at the gun show will buy it, and I will tell them about the problems that it has, and I will tell them that it feeds sort of reliably with round nose, and I'll probably get what I paid for it out of it. Don't feel bad about that. My scruples are, I'll tell them exactly what the gun is. If they want to buy it, great. Or I'll sell it to a pawn shop if I worry about, that. Gun is functional, gun is safe. I'm okay selling it, telling people that, look, you're not getting a lemon, but this isn't the world's best gun either. Don't use it for home defense. So I'm right at 18 minutes. That's about where I wanted to be. 20 minutes, believe it or not. That is where I wanted to be. So I'll go into the Huntertown Arms adapter, piece of junk. I would worry that it's not concentric. Whoever did the knurling here really screwed up. I don't like it at all. If you need to have something, I guess this would be okay. Yes, it seems to be made to spec. I would worry that it's not concentric, but yeah, since the gun wasn't reliable, I'm just gonna sell that on eBay or something. Now the Silencer adapter is very nice. In fact, I like that they have a O-ring on the thread protector. Really nice touch there, and as you thread the last little bit, it gets kind of tough, and there's two reasons for that. The interference of the O-ring actually keeps it from loosening, which is really great, but also the O-ring will protect it if you've got a suppressor or even another device like a flash suppressor or a muzzle brake on there. It protects it because the gunk doesn't blow back onto the threads and keep it from like seize it up or something like that. But I like Silencer Co.'s products. They tend to do a really good job. And that's all I've got to say. If you like this video and it was helpful, feel free to like. If you need to refer to this for the complex disassembly procedure, favorite, subscribe, share, comment. It's Ryan Ham. Goodbye.